So when you have narcissistic parents that live vicariously through their child, this parent does not have any hobbies outside of their child. All of their hobbies are directly intertwined with what the child is doing, what the child is a part of. So this looks like a parent involving their child in a sport or an extracurricular activity. And the parent is making sure that the child is showing up to all the rehearsals, all the practices. This parent is the one that's showing up to all of the competitions. This is the parent that is heavily involved in the committee, like the sports team, the committee of whatever extracurricular this is. Like they have, you know, leadership positions in the community. They have positions that they hold within their child's activity that they are involved in. And the reason why the parent does this is because they want to be able to be so indoctrinated into whatever activity this is that it's tough for them to get out of it. And they want to be a part of this program or this activity or this sport so desperately that they will go out of their way to be so much of a part of it. To be so a part of it, thank you, that sounds better. To be so a part of it because they would rather have the benefits of what comes from this activity way more than the child wants. And you see this a lot where when the child wants to leave the activity, when the child has lost their passion for it, when the child is not happy, when the child is miserable, when the child really just wants to do something different, and the parent refuses. The parent refuses to let their child leave. The parent refuses to let their child quit. And the parent will give every goddamn fucking excuse in the book to not let their child leave. This is because the parent does not want to admit that the only reason that they are there is because the parent wants to be a part of that activity or that program. Because the parent, when they were a child, when they were growing up, when they were a teen or a preteen, when they were growing up, they wanted to do those activities or do those sports, but they did not have the opportunity to. So they look at it as, if my child can be a part of this opportunity, then I can be a part of this opportunity at first hand. And when the parent has created a routine for themselves out of that activity, and it's fulfilling them, it's making them happy, it is fulfilling their soul, it is satisfying their ego, it's going to be very tough for that parent to get away. Now, especially if you have a undiagnosed autistic parent and this hobby, this activity that they are a part of that is directly intertwined with what the child is doing, when that becomes that undiagnosed autistic parent's special interest, it's very, 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 stop it when you get bored, very, 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 very tough for that parent to want to remove their child from that experience. Because removing the child from that experience means that the parent also has to be removed from that experience. And if the parent is not ready to be removed, they're not going to let their child be removed. They're not going to remove their child. And here's another thing. When you're dealing with emotionally immature parents, they don't understand, or they are not fully aware as to why they are doing this, as to why they are forcing their child into this. They are unaware as to what is pulling them towards this. What is this magnetic pull, gravitational pull? And they have no idea what's attracting them to this opportunity. They don't realize that it is something, something within, like, is it something within their mind, something within their brain that they are not consciously aware of. It's in the unconscious. They have this unconscious gravitational pull that they are responding to, but they are not consciously aware of it. So when you have other people coming around trying to check the parent and tell the parent, like, hey, listen, if your child doesn't want to do this anymore and you're keeping them a part of this, you're failing your child. You're failing as a parent. You are making this more about you than about your child. And the parent, because they are unaware and they are not conscious about it, they will continue to dismiss it. They will deny, they will deflect, they will gaslight, they will just try to say whatever, because they are not aware in their mind as to what they are doing. They are not fully aware as to where it's coming from, because they have not done any self-reflecting. They are not self-aware of themselves. They are just living a program. They have programmed themselves to be a part of this whole routine, this whole ordeal, so that when the truth is staring them in the face, they reject it. They run from it, because the truth is contradicting what their subconscious is telling them. Because listen, when you have this unconscious feeling, like, I want to relive my childhood, so I want to be a part of this. Let's make this happen under any circumstance, by any means necessary. Let's make this happen. In their subconscious mind, they're going to be telling themselves, like, this is the right thing to do. This is the right thing that I have to do. And because narcissistic parents look at their children as extensions of themselves, they feel as if the narcissistic parents' needs and the child's needs are exactly the same, when they're not. They feel like this is the right thing to do, because if it was right for me, it's going to be right for my child too. No. So their subconscious is telling them a different story. It's telling them a totally different narrative that is pulling from that unconscious. And then when someone is trying to make them consciously aware of what is happening, where it's like, step into reality, turn off the blinders. You got to reprogram your subconscious. You got to bring that unconscious thought to your conscious and be conscious of where it's coming from and what's really happening here. And when they are not ready to be self-aware, when they are not ready to face an uncomfortable truth, they will run from it. Because at that moment, they are more after instant gratification. They are more after satisfying themselves in the short term, without thinking of how this is going to affect the child in the long term. Because when you deal with parents do stuff like this, unconsciously, they have this need. But because they are unconscious of how they are going about their needs, their subconscious is telling them that the need that they feel is equivalent to their child's needs. So their subconscious is telling them that they are doing exactly the right thing. They're supposed to be doing this because this is what my child needs. All because the parent is so selfish, and the narcissistic parent is so selfish and so self-absorbed that they only care about their needs and their wants. And they think that their needs and their wants are identical to their child's needs and wants. So much to a point that they don't even ask their child what their child's needs and wants are, because they don't care about what the child's needs are. They feel like, I know what my child's needs are because I'm their parent. And that's when you realize that narcissistic parents they're not really parents. They're controllers. All they want is control. All they want is to have control over somebody. And when that child eventually graduates from the program or the activity, or they just get to a point where they're too old and they can't be a part of it anymore, that parent is not going to know what to do with themselves. And you're going to notice they're not going to have any other hobbies. They're not going to have any other activities that they are a part of, because they use their children to have these hobbies. They didn't have any hobbies of their own. Because if they did have hobbies of their own, they would be doing those hobbies. Because now that your child's not a part of this activity anymore, now you have nothing to do. Yeah. This is a way that parents fail their children, by putting their needs before their children's needs. And this is what causes children to be resentful towards their parents, because they rob them years of their life that they cannot get back.